Hello folks, this is Steve AB4EL. I have the window open so you may occasionally hear a car or trailer truck go by. It's not summer yet, but it's kind of getting there. Now I had a problem with one of my computers. I have several computers. I had a problem with one of my computers in the last couple of days. There goes some traffic. So when I would press the button to turn it on, it would start beeping. And I found that if I would turn it off and then turn it back on a couple of times, then it would start right. But this afternoon, it just kept beeping, no matter how many times I turned it on and off, unplugged it, plugged it back in. Now I'm going to remind you, I started with personal computers in 1983. And by that I mean their internal parts, networking them over twisted pair cables, and programming both in Quick Basic and assembly language for the CPU. So I've kind of been at it as an amateur, so to speak, for a long time. I have built my own computers in the past from parts. There was a time when basically you had to do that if you didn't want to pay really high prices. Now I'm going to play for you what the computer sounded like when it refused to start correctly. Beep, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. We turn it off. It's off. Now we turn it back on. Okay, you got the idea? Now, what would you do? I happen to know what company wrote the BIOS, and I've had experience working as a contractor in the IBM PC company a long time ago, before they sold it to Lenovo. I was a contractor. I worked for somebody and they supplied bodies like me to go into there and do what they needed with the new PC model development labs. I wasn't an engineer, I just did what they told me to do. So you learn things, building, putting together, buying parts, having experience. So this video is really for somebody who wouldn't know what to do about a situation like this. And I'm going to tell you, based on a lot of years of experience where it sort of happened before, how I thought about it and how I found the answer. Okay, it's 3 at one tone and fourth one at a different tone. So I go out to the search engine, Lenovo ThinkCenter. There's the computer. That's the model. I bought it used, refurbished, out of a company in Canada. I have several of them. No, you can't upgrade it to Windows 11. So I'm not promoting anything. It's Lenovo ThinkCenter, and then it said I put in 4 beeps on startup. Now, what I knew from my long years of experience is that motherboards, which is the heart of the computer, in the BIOS, they have two forms of startup. There's a cold or hard startup and a soft restart. So like when you're running Windows and then you say restart, it doesn't shut the computer all the way down and turn the power off, which is different than when you start it and turn the electricity on. That's the hard boot up. It does a lot of hardware checking, hardware parts in the computer under the program that's running is called the BIOS, basic input-output system. And it's checking the hardware because the BIOS code is adapted specifically to what motherboard it's helping. But once it passes that phase, then it goes on to another phase where it's checking if you have like network connections, how much memory you have, stuff like that in order to support the actual loading and starting of the operating system, whether it be Windows or like Linux. So this is occurring as soon as I press the button to turn the electricity on in the computer. So this is during the hard boot up, where it's checking the presence of the hardware parts. See, I'm going into great detail. Lenovo ThinkCentre 4 beeps on startup. Right? That's what I played for you. I recorded it. So the AI overview says 4 beeps on the Lenovo ThinkCentre during startup typically indicate a RAM, random access memory, failure, or a motherboard issue. So there are categories of hardware issues. The AI overview knows that if it's 4 of them, 4 beeps, it's most likely RAM. But it says it can also be the CMOS battery failure or a BIOS issue itself, like corrupted BIOS memory. I've had computers that corrupted the BIOS code, and I had to reflash it to make it right. So then it says to troubleshoot, start by removing and reseating the RAM modules. Now that's the first suggestion, and this is the AI overview. You don't know anything about your computer, but somebody said, or you knew to do Lenovo ThinkCentre 4 beeps on startup. And this is so smart that it congeals 40 years of data experience and summarizes it. Remember, I started in 1983. It's 2025. How many years have I been doing this? To troubleshoot, start by removing and reseating the RAM modules if you know what that is. If you know how to open the computer, if you dare to, if they constructed it in a way that will let you, thinking of some things like Macs. Then try booting with a single RAM stick. If the issue persists, consider checking the CMOS battery and possibly updating or reflashing the BIOS. Okay, and there's an order of what you ought to do these in. Now this is the AI overview. This gives you a huge head start. I had to learn this stuff the hard way. So I've already showed you what the computer looks like, and I can go to the Lenovo company website and I can find now that was the AI overview. Lenovo post-beat symptoms. That hard startup by the BIOS is known as the post phase. And here it says, because there are 4 long beeps. So what I did is I went right from the first recommended article, I went to here, Post Beep Symptoms Think Center. Now they have different model series. I'm concentrating on the Think Center because they most likely have the most similar family of BIOS versions. And here's a table of symptoms. Beep symptom, beep meaning suggested actions. 3 short beeps followed by 1 long beep. 2 long beeps followed by 3 short beeps. 4 long beeps and error something on the screen, and 2 short beeps. Which one closest matches what we have happen? Let's play it again. Now we turn it back on. The 4 beeps are equal length, but 3 are one tone, and then the 4th one's a different tone. So we look at this chart, and by the way, there's a warning up top that this table doesn't actually match my version of computer, but let's take a look. 3 short beeps, 3 beeps of one tone, and followed by a long beep, followed by a beep of a different tone. So you have to translate things a little bit sometimes, read between the lines. And what does it say? Memory not detected. What? The computer was working before, and for a while, even though it was doing this, if I turned it on enough times, it would start, so it's got memory, but what do they mean? Investigate memory subsystem, ensure that any memory modules are properly seated in the connectors. All kinds of electrical connections. If you leave your oven plugged into the wall for 25 years and never touch the electrical plug, never take it out, I guarantee you that after 25 years, there's corrosion on the prongs. Do you understand what I just said? If you never take the battery cables off of your battery in the car and clean them, eventually you're going to have starting problems because corrosion gets in there and changes the resistance, and it makes it sometimes look like the battery's going bad and helps the battery go bad because the generator alternator can't charge it properly. Do you understand what I just said? Well, when you put a memory module into the motherboard, it's an electrical connection that is the same as plugging something into the wall, and it can be through vibration and just atmospheric things make the contacts bad or intermittent. Intermittent would mean that if I kept starting it long enough, it might catch and start, but eventually, as happened, even doing that today, it just wouldn't boot up. I'm interpreting this for you. This is the computer. You take the cover off. Now, here's an important thing. You want to go and look for a little more help because you're not familiar with what's inside that computer. And there's a warning. The Think Center M93P is no longer actively supported by Lenovo Development. Well, it was made so long ago that no. Meaning no further software updates will be provided, such as, for example, BIOS updates or drivers for things you might plug in. However, products still under the Lenovo limited warranty will be covered for repair. Of course, it depends on what the part is. So that's a little bit of a warning, all right? Now, this is the product page for an M93P desktop ThinkCenter. And you can go and do something like get drivers and software. You can try to let it run a scan on your computer to see if it has any drivers that it should update on your machine. You can do manual updates, select drivers. What kind of drivers might we? Oh, I said we could reflash the BIOS. Then you take a look here, which version do you have? I won't discuss how you get it. And you see if there's anything newer. Or maybe you think it's corrupted, as happened on one of my machines, and you can get the same version that's on there and reflash it with the same one to get the bad bytes that have corrupted fixed. So even though this machine is more than 10 years old, you can still get things for it, hardware and software. Now, this sounds like I'm way off the track, but I'm showing you how many resources are available to you if you have a problem and you're trying to figure out what's going on without taking it. You might not live in a place where there's a computer shop that could do it for you, and you don't want to throw the machine away. Because right now, Windows 11 is telling you, Microsoft is telling you to throw half the computers of the world away. Yes, they are. Because they keep narrowing what they'll support Windows 11 for. And every time they do that, that's millions more computers to the junk pile. But we're going to have to get in there and try to work with the RAM sticks. And when we get the case open, it's not that hard. The RAM is on the motherboard. Now, it turns out that if I do a search for Lenovo ThinkCenter M93P, the series, motherboard, I can buy one. Let's see how much they want if I buy it now. Oh, this is in Great Britain. They want 136 GB. I think this is in the UK, so it would be over $100. I can buy a whole computer for that out of Canada, the place where I bought these. So that wouldn't be practical for me, but that's what the motherboard looks like. This is where you connect your drives. This is the power supply plug. These are things on the back panel, like where you plug your monitor in. This is where the CPU plugs in. You can see there's an awful lot of parts on there that are tiny. And here's where the RAM plugs in. Now, in this model, it allows you to plug in as many as 4 RAM sticks. You notice that they have pairs of colors. If you plug in only one and you can only have one stick in the computer, you usually put it in closest to the CPU, but you can find instructions to tell you what to do. But if you're going to put 2 sticks in, you put the 2 in to the same color slots. So if you're going to do 3, 2 of them are already in the same color slot, and then the next one goes into one of the other color pair. Got it? And this is what we're interested in. And notice that there's these white things on the end. Now this computer takes what's called DDR3 memory sticks, and you can buy them on Amazon. Like I could buy 16 gigabytes, 2 times 8 gigabytes. Actually, I'm going to be upgrading these. I'll probably buy these. So they're fairly cheap. They're an out-of-date type of RAM for the computers being made today. There's DDR4 and beyond. These are the ones I would buy. And there's enough pictures there that you can get to see. That's how they look if they're plugged in. And you see the tabs, and you see here this one is a pair of blacks and a pair of blues. Now the way you do it is, the slots are empty. You orient the stick. You can only put it in one way. If you have it turned the wrong way, it won't press down. So as you put it into the slot, those little tabs on the end are flopped outward. And then if you have it in the right direction so the little slots match up, you press down on both ends, and when it goes in, those end tabs pop up and lock it mechanically into place. So if you need to reseat it, you go in after you get the case open, you use your finger and you press down on those tabs to pop the memory stick up. It doesn't fall out. And then you just press it back in and make it lock in again. And that's called reseating the memory. And there's how you would do it. You see it? You see where his fingers are? It's just another view of the same thing. You press down on the tab to pop it out, but it doesn't fall out. It's in the slot. And then with your thumb on both ends, you press it back in, making sure you press down vertically. And that's what I did with the computer. And now it just starts up normally every time. Remember what I said about if you left your refrigerator or your oven plugged in to the same wall socket for 25 years and it's no different. It was somehow one or more of there's only a few hundred contacts on the edge of that memory stick. And all it takes is one of them to be bad, and the memory will go, I can't do a memory check. Yeah, that's right. There's a few hundred contacts down in that slot, and if one of them gets corroded or doesn't make the right contact, the memory stick check fails during the BIOS post-check, and it just goes beep, 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 beep. All right? So it's great that we have the search engine. It's great that we have the manufacturers still out there supporting things and keeping archival data available. And it's great that there are places like eBay and Amazon that actually also can help you along if you're not completely familiar with this. Because, let's see if I can find it. No, I guess I didn't keep it. There was wait a minute, hang on. Manuals and guides. System update, power supply getting started with Windows 8.1. But the next one is Windows 10 Lenovo Factory Recovery USB Stick Public blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for, here, hang on a second. Just say manual. There's a back view of this, and it tells you what all the parts are there. Here's what it looks like inside. This is a Lenovo Online Managed. So there's where the CPU is. And so you have to figure out all these parts. Sometimes, whoop, I'm sorry. It really gives you some, okay, this is a motherboard diagram. I showed you a picture of an actual motherboard. There's the CPU. There's the back panel with the different kind of connections, like where you put the monitor on. And here are where you plug in the memory. Here's the power connector. So if you want to, you can download the manual for your old computer, and you can use something like this to figure out where all the parts are, even if you're unfamiliar with it. But it's like you're taking a summer course in it. If you have to go to school every day. If you don't know what these parts are, then you have to go online and look up every one of them to make sure you know what you're actually looking at inside of the computer, because one of the things that's kind of missing here is they have line drawings, but they don't have actual photographs. So then you have Google Images, Think Center, M93P inside the case. Let's see if we can get a search on that. Here's a picture. It's a video. You can get a video. Here's what it looks like without a motherboard in it. Here's looking down into it. Here's another one with the case, the cover off. That's pretty good. Oh, that's not the way we want it. Hang on. Hang on. See all the wires? Can you figure it out? There's the CPU with the heat sink. There's the back panel. Here's where the memory is. Now, in this computer, my eye is practiced enough, I can immediately see. Notice where the CPU is. There's two green RAM connectors, and then there's a different color here. And in this picture, you may not be able to see it immediately, is they have two RAM sticks in there, and they're not in the pair closest to the CPU, which might be a hint of where you should put the first pair. And I can see that there's two RAM sticks in there. Got it? And is this what it looks like inside of mine? Pretty close. So if you were stuck on a small island in the middle of the Pacific and you only had satellite internet and you had to figure this stuff up, it's all online. And when I started, you had to figure it all out yourself, because there was no, or only the very rudimentary beginnings of online stuff. And I am talking about the late 1980s, when the real first internet started. excuse me for going on so long, but in a way it's reminiscing and kind of going, wow, I remember what it was like in 1983 when the IBM PC personal computers were just coming into the world. Steve A. before you. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Saying see you in 73.